stand. Let me lead us in a word of prayer. Dearly Father, we thank you for this day, and Father, we're thankful that you allow us to work for the citizens of Glynn County. Help us to understand the issues that are presented to us and be good stewards of our customers' money. Help us to always try to glorify you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
There's no public comment. Move to the approval section. The first item is the minutes from the February 18th, 2026 Facilities Committee meeting. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Item 2, HIC Altama LLC Agreement Amendment Number 1.
Yes, sir. You may recall we did an agreement with HIC Altama for property and off-site improvements to be installed for future needs, and they would receive capital improvement fee credit for the use of for their expenses. The initial agreement required the on-site phases to be completed by no later than March 31st of this year. The on-site improvements required for their initial phases were to construct a temporary pumping station and a force main extension across Highway 99 and under I-95 to Manifold Inn, with a force main on Shell Road south of 4118. The temporary pumping station is nearing completion. They did an attempted startup last week on it, but the improvements across I-95 for the force main extension have not begun. HIC Altama approached us about extending the time frame in the contract, and they would like to extend till December 31st of this year, with work beginning by June 1st on that portion of the force main work. The timing does not negatively impact our systems at this point because these improvements are to facilitate their development. So we recommend approving Amendment 1 to this agreement to extend the time frame for the completion of on-site upgrades to December 31st, 2026.
Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Facilities Committee recommend approving Amendment Number 1 to the HIC Altama LLC agreement to extend the time frame of completion for the on-site upgrades to December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Second.
Questions? Todd, can you show us a picture of what they put in, and what we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Because some of the commissioners might not be familiar with what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, this is at exit 42. I'm sure you're familiar with that area. Exit 42 here, Altama Plantation is this property that's being developed now. So far, they have put in their main trunk line all the way up to temporary pump station 4121, as we're calling it. And this is first phase of the residential development here. So the infrastructure in there, getting down to the closing phases of that, final punch list items, final review of the CCTV video, the sewers. Did have, as Mr. Burrows mentioned, a startup of the pump station last Thursday. And that's kind of where they stand. They hope to have it on the final plat agenda. I believe it's on the county's commission meeting coming up here pretty quick.
I think it's in April is what they're shooting for.
Yeah.
What pump station you gonna start out? You got 2 pump stations there, right?
So, right now, it's all gravity to this 4121, which pumps back out. As Ms. Burris said, it's gonna come back across the interstate.
That's a temporary pump station?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The gravity's configured in such a way as to whenever, for future, the gravity will continue this direction to the future plant site.
And so they've got the force main extended out to Highway 99 now, and they've done some work up between 99 and the interstate, but they have to do the portion under I-95 back behind the Bucky's property there and manifold into the force main at 4118.
So they're not ready to tie on anybody yet?
They'll be able to tie on a few houses on the front end because they can still discharge into the gravity, but they're, for future phases, they are going to need to run all the way to to Shell Road. And we'll put a valve in just downstream of that connection point there. And then once the new plant is constructed, we can then shut that valve and redirect 4118 back through the same pipe into the new plant.
Do they have roads cut in to the development?
The first.
Paved
yes.
roads, yes,
Paved
sir.
roads there, very close.
They got
It's
paved
nice.
roads.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's paved road all the way, practically to the pump station up here for this is their commercial development area right here. They're gonna move on to next.
Have they started selling lots or anything?
The lots are being sold to one builder, who will be constructing and then selling the homes.
Do you know the schedule for that?
I think the builder was ready to go like 6 months ago, so. Soon as they're ready.
Soon as they're platted and they'll
Yeah,
start.
as soon as they're
pulling
platted, we're gonna start seeing some building permit requests.
Anybody have any other questions? All in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Next item is infrastructure dedications and conveyance fees. Mr. Klein.
All right. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you again. We do have a few easement dedications and actually conveyance from Joint Water and Sewer Commission to Georgia Power on here. The first one to talk about is Community Road, and this is an easement that was obtained from Georgia Power Company. And I will zoom in here to GIS. Let's see, Georgia Power Community Road, there it is. So off of Community Road, Georgia Power does have a facility just to the north of Community Road there. And you may recall, the commission did almost nearing completion. This is the last little piece of it, but the Community Road water and sewer improvements within this area right here. It was a pressurized sewer force main run throughout the commercial area, and also a little bit of water in there. Community Road being a DOT right-of-way, and then it was a little bit of a challenge in some fashions for design, and then also obtaining sufficient easements to facilitate the construction. Kind of bisected the project right here. We had a lot of commercial areas over here, potential customers are going to tie on. Also on the north here, up off of Circle Drive, Key Circle Drive. What this does, if we attain this little bit of private sewer that was already existing, was owned by Georgia Power.
Yeah, both of those buildings are Georgia Power buildings, so it's all single customer right now, which is why it's private.
Correct. They had this on-site infrastructure. Don't know why it was never deeded as public years ago, but
What did it tie into?
ties up into,
Goes into 4056,
4056. Yeah.
right there by Coastal Club. Sir?
Yes, sir. Gravity
Grab
line.
one, yes.
Which we upgraded 4056 not long ago, a couple years back. We did that off of Cypress Mill, Old
This
Cypress Mill.
line's been in service for a while.
It's been in service, yes, sir. And it was a real convenient way for us to tie and get these new customers connected in, rather than having to negotiate easements that are proven difficult and getting underneath Community Road, all this and that. It was a really good discharge point. So Mr. Burrows largely spoke with Georgia Power and his contacts there, and negotiated the conveyance of that to the commissioner.
What
for the commissioner.
size sewer is that?
It's 8-inch through, I believe.
I believe it's 8, yes, sir. And right now, I think the only issues that we'd known about is because there's not a sufficient flow to keep that 8-inch sewer flushed out right now. So adding this force main discharge into there from these pressure sewers will actually be a benefit to that sewer section.
It could certainly use the flow. So along with that, of course, you can see it's a little bit different than what we would do, start from scratch. We would probably design it differently, but it was an opportunity to work with our friends at Georgia Power and help each other out. The easement that comes along with this, is fairly centered.
And when was the line put in?
I don't know if we've got decent records of that. It'd have to be when the facility was built.
Did we ever inspect that?
But it been the 70s. Sir?
Did we inspect it?
That would have been the city of Brunswick owned it at that time.
Yeah, I'd have to figure early 80s, maybe late 70s, early 80s. I don't know. When do you think, Commissioner Fields?
It's
maybe?
been a few years since it's been Cameron, but like I said, given the opportunity to not have to come underneath Community Road, it was a worthwhile pickup for us.
Are we doing it, Cameron?
Yes, well, Cameron.
believe that building was under construction in 78 initially.
Would figure it'd be that era. Ooh, got a couple extra pages in here. Let's see. Get down here to the exhibit. There it is. There's our easement right there. And another side note, Hussey Gay Bell is our engineer of record for the community road project. As part of that project or their design contract, they did the survey, or the easement deed survey for us. So we included that in their design contract. All right, next is, we're going to jaunt on down to exit 29 to our water production facility and elevated storage tank projects. Now those, a little exhibit map there, but I'm going to jump on GIS here real quickly. I'm going to go ahead and show you the next one also as well. Right next door is where elevated storage tank's going in. We talked about those projects, and we'll talk about them again here for a project update here shortly. GIS, let's jump down there to Southport, but this is right on either end of our treatment plant. And our new water production facility right here is going in. Simply, Georgia Power needed an easement across our property to set the new transformer. So that's what that one is. We certainly want to accommodate them to do that so we can power our new pumps and facility. And the second one is an easement down Joint Water Sewer Commission's property here to get to the elevated storage tank site, and also again extend power service down here, et cetera. So to do that, Georgia Power requested an easement from us, and that is what those are. So this is a little reverse of what we normally do. Now asking the commission to convey an easement to Georgia Power for both those.
Yeah, they requested an easement, that's where that ditch was at one time. The ditch down through there, right? And there's a little road there.
There's a road there, yes, sir.
But what about that swimming pool? It's coming out on
It's on the other side than that.
So the encroachment, or as our council would say, trespass you speak of, sir, is right here. Still working on that, I believe, to remedy that. But this is correct, yes, sir. So they're gonna come down through
that. So
here.
we're not giving them, we're getting an easement from them, or they're giving us,
This is the commission's property here.
so we're granting Georgia
We're
Power.
granting Georgia Power, correct.
But it's not within that area where we have a problem.
It's on the other side of our property there.
Is that it, Tom?
Those are the two items, well, actually three items. Happy to answer any other questions.
We have a motion?
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion that the Facilities Committee recommend to the full commission to approve and accept these requests to accept infrastructure and easements with associated documents as applicable.
I second.
Motion second, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, move to discussion section, the water production report, Mr. Burns.
Yes, sir. So our water production report for the month, if you look at the totals, they're lower, but remember February is the short month. So on the daily average, we were right shy of 8 million gallons from January's average daily flow. Metered flow was over 7 million as well. So unaccounted for right around 10% for the month. Almost 31,500 water bills sent out for the month. So good to see consistent growth in the system there. If we go to the Brunswick page on the next section there, you'll notice that things were fairly normal for the month. Not a whole lot of change. We saw some reduction in flow from Golden Isles 1 to Canal and Ridgewood because the I-95 well was running for the whole month. If you recall, we had that well motor rehabbed at the end of the year, and that was brought back online at the end of January. So that was running much more through the month of February than it had been in the previous months. But all in all, fairly standard month. Production of 5.1 million gallons a day on the mainland with 4.5 metered. So that works out to an 11.8% unaccounted for number on the mainland for the month of February. Did have 2 dirty water complaints. Both of them followed flushing in the area. Typically when we flush, we can stir up some debris in the lines, and then people will call with dirty water, and they just simply need to run a few minutes of water through their taps, and then it'll clear up. So,
We were flushing and not the fire department.
yes, we were flushing. The fire department does flush as well, but we were doing flushing. I think we were doing flushing for requested fire flows in the region. So, pretty consistent month to month, a little higher than we were this time last year, but within the normal bounds of flow there in the Brunswick district. St. Simons for the month, let's see here. 2.4 million gallons a day produced, 2.2 metered, so very low unaccounted for. I don't think the unaccounted for is quite that low on St. Simons. I think that's due to the raw water meters, perhaps needing recalibration. It is time for that to occur. The system, as you would expect, fairly balanced between the two on the south end and the two on the north end, with the two on the north end having less flow. But again, fairly standard month of water production across all of our systems. A little higher than we were this time last year. That is the trend. It has been dry. People have started irrigating a little bit earlier than normal this year. So not unexpected. And on the south end, much the same. 333,000 gallons a day produced, 310,000 metered through our AMI meters. Leaves us with a 7% unaccounted for number. Only 2 wells running on the south end. A little bit more coming through the Brookman well and the Fancy Bluff well. That is because the Brookman well, the tank is immediately adjacent to the Brookman well, so it is the one that constantly turns on to fill the tank when the tank drains, and Fancy Bluff has to be ran manually. So during the day, they're fairly balanced, but Brookman does the overwhelming majority of the flow after normal working hours down there, while we're waiting on the new well site and tank at exit 29 to come online to help space that out a little bit for us. Again, very consistent flow at the south end. One thing we can always be sure of is exit 29 is not going to change a whole lot month to month. Any questions on the water report?
Is the water level in our wells about the same elevation all the way through?
In the wells? I'd have to confirm that information, sir. I suspect it is, but I don't know. The depths of the wells are different because we have some in the different aquifers, but as far as the water level, I'd have to confirm that with our production.
Got the Miocene in it.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Good report.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wastewater.
Wastewater report, we'll start with Academy Creek. 5.8 million gallons for the last 2 months. So the last 4 months, we've seen very consistent flow at Academy Creek day to day with the lack of rain we've been having. Pretty consistent influent concentrations, things like that. Did see a little more phosphorus for the month, which is potentially due to some additional fertilizing, things like that for yards and things like that ran off. But still having the ammonia issues. We are getting the numbers for this month so far are right around the 5 mark. We're hoping those continue to drop before the end of the month. The limit is 5 for the month of March, so we're crossing our fingers on that. But other than that, everything operating pretty smoothly there. You'll notice we changed the labeling here to be more correct. TRC is total residual chlorine. Previously, the last 4 months, the report had said 0. We're not actually using chlorine, so NODI means no discharge. So there has been no discharge of chlorine from the facility. That is what that code means for you, in case there's any questions about that. So we haven't used the chlorine since the UV system came online. We will be swapping back to chlorine for 1 day because they have to come in on the UV system, not on the system, but on the downstream weirs, and install some staff gauges for calibrating the metering. And our contractor was less than enthused about my suggestion of just get a boat and go after it. So we'll take it offline and swap over to chlorine for a day so they can install their staff gauges. So we will have potentially 1 more day of chlorine use at Academy Creek, but that should be the end of it. 96% BOD removal, 97% TSS removal for the month. And again, for the last 6 months, it has been exceptionally dry in our area. And that leads to some pretty consistent flows at the plant when you don't have the I&I coming in. So, like I said, other than the ammonia, everything's going well. The ammonia, again, is trending about half of where it was last month. So we're making progress on that. And we are kicking off the clarifier project. So we're currently in the process of going through dropping individual clarifiers while we bring the other one back on so that our contractor can inspect all of those. So a lot of moving parts down there at Academy right now. On our graph there, you can easily see when we had all the rain in August compared to everything else, because the rest of the time it's pretty consistent. So as long as we can avoid 18 inches of rain in a month, we'll still be in good shape down there. All right, Dunbar for the month, 2.5 million gallons going out of that plant. Again, very consistent the last 4 months through there. Everything running very smoothly at the facility. 98% BOD and TSS removal. We have started at Dunbar doing what we had mentioned at Academy. We have some work. We had the new clarifier added last year, so we've taken one of the other older clarifiers offline, going through doing some rehab work on that internally now that we have a little more flexibility to do that. So that work is ongoing, and plant is being handled very well by staff over there, making very clean effluent water leaving the facility at Dunbar Creek. Flow lower than it was last year, always good to see. So again, we'll see how that goes. The flow is starting to rise for the month of March slightly, as you would expect, as our spring breakers join us from across the country on St. Simon's Island. So not high flows, but increased flows so far. We're up about 300,000 gallons a day so far this month. And Southport, much the same story at Southport. Everything's being handled very well. Plant running about a third of its capacity down there at around 466,000 gallons a day. 99% BOD and 98% TSS removal for the month. Still have not processed any solids in the last 5 months at Southport. I believe we are going to have to take at least a load to the landfill this month. So our streak of no solids will come to an end in the month of March. We have created solids. We had just emptied the digester and we're filling it back up. So we have still been processing internally. We just haven't had to take any out of the plant in 6 months. So
Those apartments are next door to it. They occupied?
some of them are, yes, sir. They are.
Is that it?
That is it for the wastewater report, sir. We have some wastewater discussion when we come to the project report and the capital projects plan. That is it for the report.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Here we go. This is our monthly picture report for the projects in motion. Certainly not the full list of capital projects that are funded, but these are the ones that are in motion out amongst in our community. The first one is Community Road. We spoke earlier about this one. Now obtaining the easement from Georgia Power, if it goes through, the board wishes, and we'll be able to wrap that project up. Good view over there of their complex. Eastbound view, Georgia Power, Brunswick facility at 3951 Community Road. Next project to speak of, Exit 42 elevated storage tank. You can see that guy right here. That's our concrete shaft is essentially complete, waiting for the dome to be completed, and then they'll begin work on their steel bowl itself on the ground. And then you can see our good neighbors up here across the way, Bucky's. And Hill Point Warehouse, phase 2 of their warehouse is ongoing, under construction, doing a lot of dirt work out there right now in the Amazon facility, which if you're out there, it's like an armada of vans moving in and out of that thing. It's pretty interesting to see.
I'm sure one of them just got my address on it. for
A
all the
dedicated
Amazon
van to the
packages we
Burroughs
get.
house.
Those ponds are gonna stay there, right?
Correct, Chairman. Right, and so these ponds are gonna stay. This one's under construction. Little interesting note here. Phoenix, our contractor, they do have some equipment over here, and we do have a temporary construction easement from the good people at Hill Point to access our site, and that was to help during the construction of Amazon. That is still, we still do have that construction easement, but they are gonna relocate some of their equipment out of the way because they have to finish their pond right for phase 2. So, all right. There's a good straight down bird's eye view of our Exit 42 elevated storage tank, and the shadow kind of tells the tale right there. And you can see this is what I was just speaking of. Some of their equipment, and the contractors do have a couple campers there they stay in. But all that is going to come over on this side of the property line and get out of the way so they can finish their dirt work on their pond. Okay, Exit 29, Division 1 Water Production Facility. This is one of the easements for Georgia Power to dedicate those folks so they can access the site here with our transformer, and that little easement will come in through here, and they'll set up transformer power production facility. Obviously, Georgia Power already services the site, but this is another little easement they needed to run distribution lines. There's a nice shot of the one of the weekly meeting or bi-weekly meetings out there. Project team.
Actually, sir, that's the leadership.
Oh, that's leadership. That is
That's the
leadership.
leadership development
Yeah.
program touring the
I think
site.
you and I are back here in the
Yeah,
very
we're in the
back.
back. We're in the back inspecting the tank while the leadership program was
Yeah.
talking to the contractor.
We were in the back of the classroom, not looking at a leak in the tank, right?
No, nothing
Yeah.
like that.
So, yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. This is, as Mr. Burris said, this is the Leadership Academy, the 2025-2026 Leadership Academy class going there. We did visit the capital project as part of the planning and construction showcase that I was honored to present to the students there. Another shot of here, this is water production facility. It's an excellent looking structure. And this is where the transformer is going to go related to the easement that we spoke about earlier. There's a view of the wellhead itself from behind the elevated storage tank. Chairman, you asked about our neighbors to the north there, the apartments, it's that way. Just on the other side of the fence right there. The well head is here. We did reuse a well. It was existing. Refurbished the well for the new hydraulic conditions that we have there now. A couple points to note that, a lot of thought goes into things even on the fly out there. And our contractor did actually relocate air release valves and whatnot to face the other direction. So they weren't, when they do come on, that well comes on, it makes a little bit of a air release noise, and now it's deflected back towards the plant, not towards the apartments there. So nice little touches to do that kind of thing. It makes a lot of difference. There's Mr. Art there, site superintendent for Petticoat Smith, and our electrician there looking at the nice work in there. It's always a pleasure when you look inside a cabinet and the wiring exhibits craftsmanship and orderly and labeled correctly. There's our gen set sitting there, ready to go. That's already had startup. Everything is ready to serve. Okay, Division 2, the X29, this is our elevated storage tank just on the south side of the plant site. And the concrete pedestal is essentially complete. Now they're, and have already welded and formed, since this was taken a week or so ago, taken and formed the bowl itself, and these plates come in, they're very large plates. They're already fabricated and rolled to the shape they need to be. Then those welders are on site now stitching those things all around the base of the pedestal on the ground. It's much easier to do that there. And then they will lift the whole bowl essentially up into place and weld them, that bowl into place, get it watertight up in the air. And again, that's the leadership group having a talk with Chief Welder there. Another good shot of the plates, and there's only one way to do that, and that's climbing all over those things, and that's very hot and demanding work. It's a good look upside from the inside of the tank shaft, looking up at the bottom of the bowl, or it's the bottom of the tank.
I just had an idea, Todd.
Yes, sir.
Could we use one of these for-profit, gravity-free, where you put the big thing in at the bottom and blow the people up and they can float around?
Oh, the air, yeah, I got you, yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that
The old
would
wind
be
tunnel.
good.
Yeah, the wind tunnels.
Yeah, the wind, yeah, they could just.
My son will be your first customer, I know that, man. He would love that, yeah.
Look, well,
That's a great idea, actually.
I mean,
Fund future projects.
yeah, I mean, generate some income. I don't know how much we could charge for that, but probably more than the water that we'll get out of it.
Yeah, at the end of the project, there's gonna be a few more pipes in the way there, but maybe that's just something that
just
make more
increases-
interesting.
That just increases the difficulty level.
That's right. We could certainly put a turbine in there in Willy Wonka style and get something going. Another good picture of the welders and such there. And then, now you can see the bowl. able to get a more recent shot in here, but that's the base of the bowl right there. You can see as it's coming up, it's like a giant funnel, and they'll continue building the walls up around that. That's these panels over here laying at the side. They'll wrap around and they'll raise that guy pretty much up and essentially close to one piece.
What lifts that bowl?
Crane.
A crane?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, they got the one, well, it's maybe not any of these shots here, but it's a crane, yes, sir. Yeah, it's, you just imagine the weight and the tonnage, that these things are, but it's amazing. Hydraulics are an amazing invention. There's another good shot there. Walls all around, and it's getting real close. Getting real close here. And this thing is right on there. Oh, well. Okay, third part of the the exit 29 water improvements down there is a couple key water loops or connections. You can see Mr. Burrows here in the foreground. We were there on site with Mr. Chad, superintendent there. And looking down in the hole right there. And what they were doing is a pressure test on that connection before the new pipe and everything is approved. It goes underneath Southport Road to make that connection. It has to be pressure tested, as with all new construction. There's Mr. Keith Strong. He's our designated project inspector with Thomas and Hutton, our engineer of record for this project. Doing a little water sample test there, checking for chlorine. And they'll do that to check and make sure it's been prepped and ready for bacteriological testing, make sure it's safe to put into service. All right, another one of our connection points there. There we go, Barrington Oaks, backside of Center Hill. That's all of the picture reports, photos. There is our complete list of funded capital projects.
Couple other project updates that we didn't have photos of. The well electrical rehab and SCADA project for our water production systems, those proposals are due back next Tuesday, I believe. So that will be hopefully before you for consideration for a contract award coming up at the April meeting. We are still working on closing out punch list items at the Academy Creek, RAS, and UV. They've got some paving that needs to be, some paving they did that needs to be taken out and tried again. And a couple of small things. And then also the FEMA-funded generator project. They have 6 of the generators installed. 2 of them have been officially started up. The other 4 were waiting. They have been ran, but they haven't been officially started up yet. And then they will be beginning on the FLETC installation Monday, and they're still working on the 1,500 kW at Academy Creek. But those are moving along pretty well. And then we did some exploratory out there at the Howard Coffin ditch site. You want to go over that?
Certainly. So Howard Coffin Park, out there we've got several ditch crossings, aerial crossings. And the city of Brunswick is doing a ditch improvement project there. They call it Living Shoreline, or they've got some grant money to do that and improve that, the washouts and things. Along with that, we partnered up with the city to go ahead and take care of some of these ditch crossings, drill them under the ditch and get rid of the casing and whatnot that's severely corroded. I actually were able to eliminate some of those crossings, reroute some things, and end up with a better product and tag along on the city's permit at the same time. So that one's moving along.
And on the county project for the Demery Road and Gateway project, we're working with the county to exchange some right-of-way for that shoulder that you need.
Yeah.
And they're working to potentially increase their limits of construction so that we can get a force main project jointly located for that force main coming from Kingsway across there to tie into 2030. So working on a lot of projects that are very close to being to the point where we're going to get some more work moving.
And what about the force main that we were talking about around Frederick Academy in that area?
That's
the one I was talking about, yes, sir. So that comes
it,
from
yes.
Kingsway. It'll have to come down.
From Kingsway.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
hoping to have final adjust change order for canal water production for next month, right?
Next month, yeah, probably on canal for next month. It's a small reduction in the contract price, I believe. for unused items. And then Academy Creek, there will be no unused items. We used every nickel that was in that contract, so we'll hopefully be closing that out again as soon as they get the punch list knocked out. We've got record drawings back, so we're literally just waiting on the punch list to be completed. Close that one out. Oh, and smoke testing. They have completed all of the field work on smoke testing. They had some unused dye tracing and dye flooding line items at about $60,000 left on the contract. We have sent back some additional basins that we requested. Could we get these included for the same price? And they're working out the numbers now to see how many of those we could add to the existing list for smoke testing. And they're working through that. So we may be able to get another 3 or 4 basins added to the original list for smoke testing. So, but that's been a very successful project. We've already knocked out over 100 of the defects that they found in the smoke testing with our internal crews. So most of those have been manhole issues or clean out issues, but working our way through the process right now.
When are you gonna go over a report of that?
Sir?
When are we gonna be able to see a detailed report?
Well, they're working on the report now. If we end up adding these basins, it'll be after those get included. They're supposed to be finished into June, sometime with that. And also, Joe Stone has started making connections on the ARCO 319 grant project. As of this morning, I talked to Mr. Patel. He said that we have 7 customers connected with the grant program on Ogg Avenue thus far.
Connected and paying. Connected and paying.
Connected
Yes.
and paid, yes. So those customers are flowing. A lot of those customers, the septic tanks they had were substandard for today's practices, I guess would be the way to say that. Not just substandard in materials, but just sizing as well. Very small septic tanks. And so the first one they connected, it was a duplex that went into one, I believe, 250-gallon septic tank. And once they got it connected, all of a sudden they heard a rush of water finally draining from the internal plumbing of the house. So it was probably the first time that house had actually flushed fully in years.
Tell us about that grant program.
So it's a 319 grant program to eliminate pollution in the water bodies. And so it has to be done for homeowner-related items. It cannot be used for installation in the streets for mains. It has to be on private property. So JWSC, we funded the mains, and so this program will allow them to run a lateral from their house to the connection point, and then they can finance their capital fees, and so there's no money up front out of pocket required for them. And we have got funding to do 96 connections right now. And we've got 7 done. We've got about 30 or so more that's already signed up. So we still got room for another 50 or so connections if anybody in that ARCO district that was part of the project area is interested. We could
Just ARCO at night.
just ARCO right now, and we're going to be reapplying for the same funding. There's no guarantees with this for the Brunswick Villa area. Those applications are due, I believe, at the end of April. So be a very similar project if it works out there as well. So that's going well. Like I said, got 7 on Ogg done within the last week or so. So as with starting any project, you have to work through a few kinks on the front end, but we're making progress.
On that connection, for somebody to qualify, do they have to have certain income
Nope.
levels below it for anybody?
Anybody that's an existing structure. Can't be for a new connection, but if it's an existing structure that's not been on our system before, anybody can qualify.
It's 100%.
100% on the cost of the installation, yes, sir.
And you're financing the tap.
Financing the tap fees for up to 10 years for them. Most people have not elected to go for the full 10 years, but we're financing it for up to 10 years.
So most people just paying it up.
Oh, or they'll finance for 2 or 3 years instead of wanting to do the full 10 years out. That's ultimately their financial decision, how they would like to work that.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
I guess we need, can I have a motion to adjourn?
No, we got one more item, sir.
What is that?
The capital projects plan for next year. So, when we'll be presenting the draft budget today for discussion only at the Finance Committee. And when we do that, typically we present a capital projects plan for the next year as well for your consideration for discussion only today. And we'll take feedback and determine where we need to adjust and hopefully bring this back for an approval at the April meeting. And so just to keep in mind, the The funds that are budgeted here are funds already on hand. In the fiscal year budget, we will be putting more project funding together. Those will be to fund the FY '28 capital projects plan. So we collect money for a year and then spend it the next year. So that way we don't start a project until we have the money to finish the project. So, projects we have here, we've got two major funding sources, R&R, which is for renewal or replacement of existing assets, and capital improvement fees, which is for expansion projects. If you recall at the last meeting, we de-scoped some sections of CIPP in the 4002 project for gravity mains, budgeted enough to dig and replace those assets. We may not, if we're able to find somebody that can do it trenchlessly, we may not spend near this much money, but the budgeted amount of 1.75 million is the budget for digging and replacing those lines if that is necessary. As we talked about, that will be a high priority project for us, and we're working to get survey completed out there so we can put something out for construction. The second item, Academy Creek electrical panel replacements. We have electrical panels that are needed to replace existing control panels on our bar screens, the belt press, and the dryer facility at Academy Creek. All of these panels are going to be over $100,000 a piece, and so we figured we would lump them together in one project to try to get some economies of scale. And so budget for the construction of the panels and installation and programming on site is $475,000. ERP replacement project. Now, Mr. Owens is not in here. He will be in here for the Finance Committee. We've been talking about this a lot at the Finance Committee. ERP is our financial software. It's where we do billing, where we do customer service, and where we take care of the financials and accounting. We've been talking about replacing that. The implementation cost for that new software program is going to be around $565,000. That does not include the actual subscription fees to the software. That's just the labor from the software company to install that. We'll be providing labor as well, in-house labor to help doing the implementation. But these things are costly, but it will be a program we'll be using for 10 to 20 years, hopefully, if everything goes smoothly. So that the implementation costs are included there. We're still making final selections on that. We haven't made a recommendation to the Finance Committee. We are scheduling to go for some site visits for what is essentially our final two that we're down to talk to the people that are using it every day, because no disrespect to sales personnel, but they tell you what is good about the program. The people, when you go talk to them, will tell you what they don't like about the program. And so we're going to go talk to them and see which one's our best fit. The next one here, this is seems like a little bit of a different project. This is for pump replacements in our lift stations. What we've done is inventory all of our pumps, and every pump in our lift station system is over 15 years old is included in this for us to go ahead and proactively replace those pumps. So 15 years is about the expected lifespan of a sewer pump. And so rather than waiting on them to fail and then trying to buy them, we're trying to be proactive in this. And so this will be a large pump purchase project, and we will be doing the installation in-house for the pumps when they get in. This will allow us to get ahead of a lot of those maintenance items instead of failing, then having to put out bypass pumps and rent those while we're waiting on new pumps to get here. We'll go ahead and order the pumps and have them and get them replaced in advance. That's a $1.35 million project. Also $1.35 million. 4013 is the Fairway Oaks subdivision. That basin there, it is it is entirely vitrified clay pipe. And we've done camera inspections, and we need to rehab just shy of 19,000 feet. It is all 8-inch VCP pipe out there. So they look like prime candidates for lining. The one thing, if you're thinking, well, we just had to de-scope some lines, those were old iron lines that end up with a lot of tuberculation on them. That does not happen with clay pipe. Clay pipe lines very smoothly, so they'll be able to get in and get knocked out. Similarly, 4001 is a basin on the far south end of mainland Brunswick. 4002 does the bulk of downtown. 4001 does the residential area at the very south end, and King and Prince, the port, those basins down there. So we've got about 10,000 feet of pipe from inspection that needs to be rehabbed in that basin to eliminate I&I and for structural conditions, and that's $735,000. We had some discussion. Do we want to lump those two together and get one contractor? We might do that, but they can't do one, they can't work on them simultaneously, so they're gonna have to basically do them separately either way. So we might lump them together, but if we do that, the plan would be to put in intermediate completion dates so that they have to finish one basin before they skip to the other one, so we don't end up with all of these lines being worked on for months on end. We currently have a project to talk about. We're accepting proposals back next week to rehab the electrical systems on 3 well sites on St. Simons, the airport, Mallory, and Harrington wells. We have 3 wells on the mainland that also need complete electrical system replacements. That's the I-95 well, the Howard Coffin well, and the Fletsy well. And so this would be to essentially do the same project minus the SCADA portion that we're doing everywhere on the mainland that we're knocking out on the, fixing to start on the island. That's 1.85 million. And then let me pull up GIS for these last ones. Trade winds, force mains. You may be familiar with the trade winds property that is off of Golden Isles Parkway and Highway 99. There's a long-standing agreement between originally Glynn County and later Joint Water and Sewer and Trade Winds about service availability out there. And that service availability requires them to be able to connect at their property line, not within 500 feet. So we have to bring piping to their property line. We've talked to them about providing multiple force mains, and I'll get there shortly, sorry. That's 36, right? Yeah. There it is. So we currently have a force main at the public safety complex. We have a pump station here, 4116. Let me zoom in again here. Turn off the water layers for a second so it's not too crowded. Certainly have a force main that runs here. You see this dashed green line. So this is the Trade Winds property here, and well, they're in the process of selling a piece of property here, is my understanding, for potential multifamily development. And so we're going to be bringing a force main from here up essentially to this point here, where their point of connection would be for this southern end of their property that is being turned into commercial development. So we'll just essentially run an 8-inch force main and stub it out right there, and then they'll tie in at that point. 8-inch force main with a flush connection, and they'll stub it out. We have a on-call directional drilling contract with TB Landmark Construction. We can easily get this knocked out. That way, when they're ready to tie in, it's ready to go. So there will be one force main parallel in Golden Isles Parkway here, and the other one would be to bring a force main and tie it into this manhole up by the rest area and stub that out on this part of the property for a secondary phase of their project. The third phase of their project would connect along Highway 99, and there's already force main right at the property line for them to connect to.
The Welcome Center, doesn't it go across the
It does. Welcome Center comes under the interstate, flows back through the neighborhoods, and ends up at 4110. So we'll be bringing a force main into this manhole around the Welcome Center property for them to bring pipe to the edge of their property to connect to. So that is per a long-standing agreement with Trade Winds. But previously, there had been limited activity at Trade Winds. Now we're starting to see some progress out there. All right, and so cost, where did I go? There it is. That's $350,000. That's essentially, we buy the pipe with that money and then get our on-call contractor to install those. Whitlock area water main extension, the Trade Winds and Whitlock area, and these next 3 are all funded by capital improvement fees. We have a current project that is being designed in-house for a water and sewer service extension in the Whitlock area along Lakewood Avenue behind the city's public works shop. Where am I at? There we go. Here we go. There we go. So now I got to turn sewer layers off. I have the wrong layers on. So currently, the project that we're designing in-house will bring water. Where am I at? Oh, right here, here, ma'am. So bring water and sewer to this area here. So we'll bring water down and loop it down this street right here, which I believe is still part, I think that's still Lakewood there, and loop it down in here, and then back up, and there'll be a looped water system in there. The second thing we were going to do, once this has been installed, we would like to bring a water main down Whitlock from this point of connection to tie in at Townsend Street by the Brunswick Villa well facility. This is an existing, this section here that runs up Whitlock is a 2-inch main, which is, it will be an 8-inch main that comes down Whitlock and ties in. And what that will do is give us another connection between the north and south parts of our system and reduce our dependence on the Brunswick Villa well, given the age and location of that well to the saltwater plume. And so the reason this likely never got done is because you have these railroad tracks that are going to be a slight inconvenience on the project. But this will be a major help for us once this gets done, if this is moved forward as a project. But again, this one will take a little bit longer than you might think just to install water mains, because there will be multiple railroad permits that have to be gotten to get this project done. All right, and because of that, I keep getting the wrong button here. Because of that, it is pretty expensive for no more pipe than it is. That's a $1.2 million project. Not a lot, but a more substantial portion of that than I would like to think it is would be tied up in the permitting aspects of going under the railroad in 2 locations. Cypress Mill to Community Road Loop, just to the north of that, up here. You'll notice, again, there's a reason this project never got done. There's a 16-inch water main that runs down Old Jessup, and there's is that an 8 or a 12 on Community? I think it's a 12 on Community. I think it's a 12-inch around here on Community. Yes, it is. So we would like to, again, keep this 16-inch main running down Old Jessup all the way, loop that into Community, and then bring another point of connection down here on B&W Grade Road and tie back in. You'll notice there's another railroad track here, which is why this project never got done. But that, again, really helps out flows in that area and gives us more flexibility which wells feed which direction. And so these will be very beneficial loops and open up water for this area. You'll notice there are no water lines in this general area, so this will provide water and fire protection to those areas along Old Jessup between Community and Habersham. So that, again, due to the tight quarters and the railroad track, that's a pretty expensive loop of $960,000. And then on the south end, let me get down here to, wrong button, Andrew. On the south end, another water loop project that will open up water availability and fire protection on portions of the South Mainland. The former Winn-Dixie right here at the intersection of 82 and Highway 17 that is being converted to an Aldi. If you look closely, there is one connection point across Highway 17 here, so this whole commercial complex and this new multifamily complex are single-fed entities. They have water, but if there was a failure of this one section of pipe right here, this entire area would lose water. So the goal is to extend water down Bell Cutoff Road, turn on, this is Dusty Lane here, and then turn up what is Cedardale Road right here and tie back into Baumgardner. And that will open up water in that area and loop those 2 ends of the system. As we get the new well online, this will again help distribute the flows between the wells better and open up water access and fire protection in this area. And we can also stub down here on Cedardale Road to the end here, but this would likely just be a 2-inch stub out to the end of this cul-de-sac because there's no real way to, not a real benefit for bringing a bigger line down there. So they'll fire protection, but then we'll stub from a 2-inch down further than that. But because thankfully there's no railroad tracks down here, this should be a fairly straightforward project. Right-of-way is pretty open down there, a lot of grass areas. You have a few road crossings, but nothing substantial down there. That should be a fairly straightforward project to get moving. That's currently budgeted at $500,000. So the total project funding for next year, based off of existing project funds, is $11,085,000 for the year. And so hitting quite a few areas: sewer rehab, electrical replacements, extending water through some areas, force mains for industrial development, and then some pump replacements, and then that ERP project, which not typically what we do with our R&R funds, but is a major investment for our utility to get that project software program underway in the near future. Again, this is for discussion today. We'll be happy to take suggestions and bring you back a finalized list at the April meeting. any questions and/or suggested improvements?
How much is water and how much is sewer?
Well, sir, I have those numbers at my desk, but I don't remember those. Hang on. Oh. 5, 6 plus 350. So 6 million is sewer, and that means water is not quite 5 because we got that ERP project.
We talked about the bar, not the bar screen, but the belt press and the dryer, doesn't we?
Yes, sir.
Academy. Didn't we have some money in there for this? And some stuff there rather than just control panels?
Well, I think to replace those belt presses and dryers, you're looking at a 8-figure project to get that done.
Should we start on it though?
Well, it would be a worthwhile project, but obviously it does not fit in the current available funding.
Future splost.
Yes, something like that might be a good advantage for that because it's, to a dryer, you're looking at $4 to $5 million. 2 belt presses are going to run you $2 to $3 million, and repiping and power and everything, you're going to be close to $10 million by the time you're done with a project like that.
When's that SPOS coming back up?
We need to start working on the list and planning now because it will need to be worked for next year for sure.
So, yes, sir, we do. Obviously, we have more needs than this. This, I think, is a good set of projects for what our available funding are. Hits a lot of different areas of the county and a lot of needed areas. But certainly, always opportunities for updating this within the next month. If there's priorities you would like to see before these are taken care of. And, if we're able to save some money on the 4002 project, that could free up some substantial money if we're able to get that done trenchlessly instead of having to dig and replace those assets. Yeah, like I said, we'll present the budget today for consideration and then review, and we'll bring it back in April. And that will, if we do the same thing here at the capital projects plan, if this happens, these projects would be funded effective July 1st. And so we'll start seeing some progress on these pretty quickly once that happens.
On with this, Andrew, is something being done throughout the whole county just about, where we have a system?
Yes, sir. A lot of most areas of the counties are seeing work. You've got projects on St. Simon's for a lot of the pump replacements are on St. Simon's for the lift stations. You've got some work down at exit 29 for those water loops, and then a lot of work on the mainland for sewer rehab and those connections on Whitlock and Old Jessup. So this does hit every area of the county pretty much. The only area that's not necessarily hit directly by these would be the North Mainland up on Highway 99 area. But we've got ongoing projects that are going to take a significant investment in that region right now.
Any questions?
Now, one thing else, while I've got you, the chairman yesterday toured Academy Creek with me, looked at our clarifier project, and one of the things he asked me to do was, as we were walking through looking with the operator showed him some of the things that they do all day long and some of the ways they keep track of data. So he asked me to show you some of the things they do. Since we have a little bit of time before our next meeting, I figured I'd go through it. So each operator, we have 2 operators on shift at all times at Academy Creek. And we have online, it's called a SharePoint system. So these are real-time spreadsheets that they keep track of data. And so multiple sheets. We won't bore you with all the details here, but they give you the current tons per day of oxygen that are going through the facility. So the current dosing rate is 1.3 tons per day on side 1 and another 1.3 on side 2. They also take sludge blankets. So the way clarifiers work, solids come in the center and they start moving outward and solids settle down. And so they accumulate solids in the bottom and you get what's known as a sludge blanket. Not what you want to wrap up with at night, but it is called a blanket. And so we must gauge the depth of those. And so every 2 hours, they will go by with what's known as a sludge judge and they will determine the depth of those. So essentially they stick a tube down in the water, pull it back up, it captures solids and it tells you how thick the blankets are. So you'll see they keep track of those. We know which of the new RAS pumps are running for which clarifier. You'll notice right now clarifier 3 is offline. It's grayed out. That is because it is currently down for inspection for the clarifier project. So they know that. We also know how much feet of space is in each of our digesters at Academy Creek. So it tells you whether the aerator is running or not, on, off. This is every 2 hours. And how much space is in the digester. So for example, we had 12 feet of space in digester number 3 at 11 o'clock. At the 1 o'clock round, it was at 9 feet. So that means they wasted about 100,000 gallons today because they waste directly into the digester. They keep pH readings, influent and effluent pH readings. This is the old chlorine and sulfur sheets. We don't use them right now. We'll have to swap back to them for one day. We tape, this is a settleometer test readings they take once a day. So they take a sample of the sludge, of the aeration basin mixed liquor, put that in a cylinder and spin and let it settle. And once it settles, they record how much has settled and then what the supernatant, which is the water that comes up to the top, looks like. They also take a reading of the percentage of solids in both all 3 aeration basins and the individual RAS lines. So 8.21% solids is 8,210 parts per million of solids in that RAS system that's being recycled through the plant. So we do that so that we get adequate food sources to the bacteria. They also take an in situ, this is not effluent, this is in-plant pH readings. So these in-plant pH readings they get throughout the day. Obviously, we have 2 operators on duty today. Miss Tina and Mr. DJ are down there. Some people use their last name, some people use their first name. You just figure out which one they like to use and go with it. So Miss Tina started the test this morning at 6:29, so she was early today getting that done. They take readings once a day is recorded in SCADA, which we'll show you in a second. They take readings once a day on the UV system. This is the oxygen. They'll give the start and stop level of the oxygen tank so we get a record of how many tons of oxygen were used for the day. Oxygen is a huge line item. And then we also have, this is a sheet that I created for them. There's a lot going on here. And so we have different aeration basins here. And they can select whether the basin is online or not. They put in what the mixed MLSS is, mixed liquor suspended solids, so the concentration of solids being held in the plant. And that calculates the pounds of biomass that we have on site. And then they sum this together automatically and they have what we have on the aeration basins. They then select which of the clarifiers are online and what the blanket depth of the clarifiers is. And then it uses this number, the WAS or RAS concentration, those RAS numbers I was telling you earlier. RAS and WAS are the same thing. It's just one gets sent back and one gets sent out. So that concentration is used to calculate the pounds of TSS that are in the clarifiers. And we calculate, using all these values, the effluent numbers and see, I told you they wasted 100,000 gallons. They wasted 99,000 gallons today. They calculate through this number. A target MCRT is mean cell residence time. I should have asked Todd. He's got his license. He should know that number. So our target is 13 days. It's very rarely going to be exactly 13 days. You're just trying to get pretty close and not vary too much day to day. So the daily would be 11 today, but it's a rolling average, so it's not a big deal. So if I shift this number down, you should see, that number jumps up to 16. So that's how they determine how much they have to waste every day. That's one of the improvements we've put into place over the last 6 months at the plant, where they have this sheet they can calculate every day instead of going by just whatever they felt like for the day. They now have something that helps them calculate what they need to do. And also this has helped stabilize operations as far as changing back and forth. Used to, they would not waste. You waste solids instead of returning them to keep your biomass at the right level. Previously, they would go 3 or 4 days without wasting and then waste a whole lot in one day. which, as the chairman, his example yesterday, that'd be like not eating for 3 days and then decide you were going to eat everything you wanted. Well, that's usually not going to do too well for your system when you do that. So now we waste a little bit at a minimum every single day. And so that, again, gives us more consistent levels throughout the plant. So they'll occasionally ask questions, and this is a live spreadsheet. So occasionally somebody messes up the formulas, and I get a phone call wanting to know why my sheet doesn't work anymore. So I have to figure out what somebody changed in the sheet that screwed up the math. But it does happen. It works. So we're going through it now, and so that's been a very helpful tool for them. The other thing, hang on, SCADA's locked me out. Not locked me out, but signed me out. The other thing we went over yesterday with Miss Tina, who was down there. No, I don't want you to sign me out, save me in SCADA. Is we have an online SCADA system. This is a VT SCADA system, and this is essentially a layout of the facility. Not exactly, but it's pretty close. There's only so much room on a computer screen to make this work. So the flow comes in through our bar screens and grit system here. Grit system's not currently on SCADA. We'll get to that in a second. And then it goes through the influent pumps. So you have 4 influent pumps. If it's in white, it means it's running. If it's in gray, it means it's not running. That's called high impact graphics, or whatever it's called, high performance graphics. Old SCADA systems, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of these, Mr. Turnipseed, they have like 8,000 different colors on them. You never could tell what was going on. So now everything's just basically black and white. Either it's running or it's not. So we don't have to be confused. So if I click on the influent pumping station here, it's going to bring up another screen. And we get more information about the influent level. So it tells you how many pumps are running, which 2 pumps are running, the speed that the VFD is telling them they need to be running, and it gives you a graphical representation of what the level is in that tank at any one point. Now, our goal is for that to be a perfectly straight line. Flow is not 100% consistent, so it never is a perfectly straight line. But that's pretty good consistency. You're feeding about the same amount to your plant all day long at that rate. Tells you that all of it's currently going. We have 2 flow meters going up the splitter box at Academy Creek. Tells you all the flow is currently going through that west flow meter. And we're running currently 8.8 MGD. That's about normal for this time of day. It will drop down to around 4 million gallons a day in the middle of the night. So that's going to happen. Now, I will not do it here because it will freak the people at the plant out, but I can actually turn on and turn off pumps from this station right here, right now. Not everybody can do that. We have a few people that have a little more ability to control than others. But we also, these are the 3 aeration basins, basin 1, basin 2, basin 3. And so we have readings for what the RAS flow coming into each basin is. That's in million gallons per day. We have the current effluent dissolved oxygen reading. Oxygen's expensive, so we want to keep this number ideally around 2. We're trying to get it dialed in a little bit better. We did the contract to try to get it automated. They're working through that process. Under 5 is a pretty good day for us on the dissolved oxygen there. If you'll come in, sometimes it gets out of whack because it's so touchy. It also tells you what the in-basin pH currently is. So we have pH readings, all real-time pH readings. And if I click on any of these numbers, it will tell me, it'll show me a graph of what has been going on. So again, pretty consistent flow rate. This is the RAS flow into basin 2. I can go back technically up to 5 years, but there's not 5 years worth of data on those RAS pumps. So I can go back 60 days and it'll trend it for as long as I need it to, or I can get it down all the way to the last 30 seconds, which surprisingly occasionally is actually necessary to know what is going on. It says on each of these clarifiers, you'll have a RAS flow leaving the clarifier. Now we have a flow meter that needs to be replaced. So these 2 are reading 0, even though those are online. And you'll see 3 of them, or 2 of them have, it says sludge blanket. We're testing some real-time sludge blanket monitors, and we're having some issues getting them to read correctly. So those numbers are complete garbage. We don't have a negative sludge blanket. That's impossible to happen. Because that means you would have, below the concrete. That can't happen. So it tells you which of the RAS pumps are on. So we have 6 clarifiers. We have 10 RAS pumps. It'll tell you which of the RAS pumps are running and what their current speed they are running at. These can be adjusted from here as well. And that will tell you also, you can change the valve position to allow more or less of the RAS flow to go into individual basins. and we're trying to get that more successfully automated as well. Once it leaves there, it goes to these effluent filters. Filter 1 is offline because it says it hasn't backwashed in over 111,000 hours because it's been offline. It is hopefully going to be put back online today. They're rebuilding it due to some issues by the, whether it was in the original contractor or the information provided by the manufacturer. The manufacturer is completely rebuilding the filters at no cost to us, so they're in the process of getting that done. So they're down there now doing that. Number 2 is online. So number 2 here, it hasn't backwashed in about 3 hours, but it's doing pretty well there. You see the level in the tank, 10.8 feet of water in that tank right now. And then it leaves there. The UV system, we have a tremendous amount of data. That's got more sensors on it than about anything else in our system. So we can tell which of the individual light bulbs are burning on each of the 9 banks of bulbs that we have. If one of them goes out, now there are 12 bulbs per bank, and it will actually read individual pin connectors that tell you which ones are running and which ones are not. Excuse me. It will tell you the current dosing rate of the UV, basically the power consumption of those bulbs, to tell you what the brightness is. Obviously, these are turned down lowly when there's low flow so that we don't waste as much power. And it'll tell you the calculated dose here. This is across the entire system, all 3 channels, all 9 banks, what is being dosed. The goal is to have that number above, I believe the set point is 35 microjoules per square centimeter, which is a very odd unit of measurement, but as long as that's over 35, we are getting sufficient dosing to remove intercocci. And then we also have what the current transmittance, the flow through here, it currently says the UV system seeing 6.9 million. It was 8.8 on the influent. Throughout the plant, you're going to have fluctuations. It takes about 12 hours for it to make its way through the plant, so the front end and the back end are never exactly the same. But over a full day, it gets pretty close. Excuse me. And then, let's see here. And then it'll go out. They'll tell you that the flow yesterday was 6.27 MGD. The current effluent flow rate is 6.88 MGD. And this is a totalizer. So throughout the day, that number goes up and then resets at midnight every night. So it totalizes the flow throughout the day for us. We have the dryer and the live bottom bin and the belt presses. None of that information, the live bottom bin is, but the dryer and the belt presses are not on SCADA. Grit system is not on SCADA. The sludge pumps are not on SCADA. The digester's not on SCADA. That's because the SCADA system was put in as part of phase 1 of this project. We're finishing up phase 2, fixing to start phase 3 with the clarifiers. And as we rehab additional items, more things are being brought into SCADA. So we have a fiber network that runs around this roadway of the plant with handholds throughout. So when we work on new assets, we can then terminate into those fiber connections and everything goes on to SCADA for a fiber network. So a lot of information. I can sit at my desk, we'll see what's going on down there at the plant, make suggestions throughout the day, which they don't always enjoy. Let them know that I know that they're not doing what they need to do today. No, most of them appreciate the fact that somebody's paying attention. So, but we have one of these for all 3 plants, but that's what we have for Academy Creek. We have the same sheets. They're a little bit different depending on the plant, but we take the same information about all of our plants as well. So again, all of this is available to staff through a intranet process, so they can get on there. They don't have to save and upload. It all goes in automatically so everybody can see it.
Okay, Andrew, do you have a pop quiz paper? Yeah. Test on what you just went over?
Well, sir, I didn't want to get people to testing anxiety today, but we can certainly get one figured out.
35.
Let me say this. Show them the clarifiers, the one that shows the 6 clarifiers.
Go ahead, start manipulating, see how quickly your phone rings.
Point to the 6 clarifiers.
So these are the 6 clarifiers here.
And that's the contract that we have just let
For phase 1, right?
to install all the mechanisms inside those clarifiers.
Right. mechanisms, weirs, launders, the whole nine. We're taking her down to bare concrete and starting over.
That's, on the liquid side of the plant, that's the next thing that we have to do.
Well, and if you think about this for the last 5 years, just as a general note, in the last 5 years, we have replaced this, we have added these, we have replaced all of these RAS pumps. We're now replacing all of the 6 clarifier mechanisms. We've put in new bar screens, we've replaced influent pumps, we've added all of this monitoring equipment. So we're not at 100% a new plant because we've reutilized a lot of the same old concrete, but we are going through replacing almost everything in this plant. And once we get the clarifiers done, as the chairman brought up, we've got some solids improvements that needs to be done right after that. So it's a constant investment, but we're turning things over pretty quickly down there. We do have the 2 new generators online that the FEMA funded. These are online and started up. They do work. They exercise. Everything's ready to go should there be a power outage. And we're going to add another generator here as part of that as well.
You know, when the average person drives by there, they're not even sure what it is. They might say that's a sewage plant. But that's one of the major industries in the whole city, in the county. And it's a tremendous investment. And if without that, our quality of life in this county would be shot.
Absolutely.
What would you say by the time we finish, what the total reinvestment cost would be in Academy Creek? Just
We're going to be somewhere in the $35 to $40 million range by the time we get through everything. But to build a facility this size today would cost you $300 million, something like that.
So what will Exit 42's plant? What are we?
About $45 million.
No, maybe.
The one advantage we've got is we're not having to pour a whole lot of new concrete here. It's existing concrete. So that speeds it up and saves some money. But the one advantage is a lot of this is older concrete, so it's real good concrete.
There are people out there inside the clarifiers washing them down so the contractor can go in and see what his work needs, the scope of his work.
Right. So we drop a clarifier down, these things settle sludge out, so then we get down there with fire hoses and wash it down. I mean, he doesn't mind getting dirty, but they need to be washed out anyway, so we wash it down, get it all out of there so he can come in there, do his inspection. And then when we turn it back on, everything's cleaned out, so it goes into a better setup.
And one of the main senior operators is so enthusiastic about her work. It's contagious.
Yeah.
And so it really made me feel good to see people like that working in this very important facility in the county.
I mean, I could turn all these RAS pumps off, and Miss Tina will call me. It's 219 by 220. She would have called me wanting to know what I did to her RAS pumps. I don't ever do that to mess with her. She thinks I do, but I don't ever do that to mess with her.
Good presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I did log in, but this is all 2-factor authentication. So I went in and did this earlier with Miss Adina, so it was ready to go because it takes a while to get into these systems for necessary cybersecurity protocols.
Anything else?
That's all I have for you today, sir.
You have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?